Hello everybody, this is a quick video on the keyboard shortcuts available in Photoshop Elements 11. And I know I wrote everything in the book, and I may have confused somebody with some of the things I mentioned, so I figured I'd make a short video and show you what I was talking about. As an example, just to make sure your tooltips are turned on, move over to, and this is a Windows machine, so it has an edit button here on the file menu. I believe, and I'm not quite sure, on a Mac you will see a Photoshop Elements button, and that's where your preferences will be located. But on a Windows machine, click on the edit button, and you'll see down here it says Preferences. Just go over to the General. The first option you have here is Show Tooltips, and that's the option you want to have selected in order for the tooltips to show up. So if you have that selected, I'm just going to go ahead and close this window. And what that's going to do is, if you see right here where you see the Hand button, you hover over it and it says Hand Tool, and the H next to it, that is the keyboard shortcut. Let me go back on it again. That's the keyboard shortcut. For the Zoom tool here, you'll see the keyboard shortcut is a Z. This is the Move tool, and the keyboard shortcut is a V. And each of these tools has a keyboard shortcut. And one thing you'll notice on some of the tools, for the Sharpen tool here, you see it showed as an R. If you click on the tool, and you look down here in the bottom panel, you'll see that there are actually three tools down here. This is the Blur tool. Click on that and it goes to the Blur tool. This is the Sharpen tool, and this is the Smudge tool right here. Now if you don't want to see this pane down here, but you do want to cycle through the tools, once you have you click the R and the tool is selected, you can go ahead and cycle through the tools. You see how the picture changes here in this little button. And then down here, if you have this up, you can see how the tool, when you click the R button again, it goes from the Smudge tool to the Blur tool to the Sharpen tool. And you'll find that if you have multiple tools stacked within a button, you'll be able to access them that way. Here we have the Sponge tool. The Sponge tool also has the Dodge tool and the Burn tool. Alright, so now that we know that the buttons have keyboard shortcuts and you know how to cycle through them, let me show you up here in the menu panel the options you have here. If you just go ahead and click on the image button, if you see right down here the Magic Extractor, if you look over to the right, the Alt plus Shift plus Control plus V, that is the keyboard shortcut for that tool. And as you go up, the tools and the functions that have keyboard shortcuts available will show up on the right side. For example, Transform, if you select Free Transform, that keyboard shortcut on a Windows machine is Control-T, on a Mac it's Command-T. The Rotate menu item here does not have any keyboard shortcuts. For the Enhance menu, on the right side you see all the keyboard shortcuts that are available. And once you get into the sub-menus, they will have the same thing. If you want to access a levels adjustment window, well, it's not an adjustment layer, it's just it adjusts the levels, but it does not create an adjustment layer. Just color, and the same thing. You can see the keyboard shortcuts are over here, so you understand what I'm getting at here. So the thing is, if you read the book, what I did is I highlighted and bolded the ones I use most often. You may choose different ones, whatever, that's perfectly fine. But it really increases your workflow if you if you learn the shortcuts and use them. As an example, right now we have this is the Burn tool. I have that selected. Let's say I want to go to the Zoom tool. I'm going to click Z on the tool on the keyboard, And you see it's changed to the zoom tool here. You see my cursor is a magnifying glass. And just click and you can zoom into your image. If you want to zoom back out, hold down the Alt or the Option key if you're on a Mac, and then you see the little plus sign changes to a minus sign, then click and you can zoom back out. Also, whoops, I zoomed in a little bit too much. I'm going to click the Alt key and just zoom back out, make it at an appropriate level. Or you can do this. If you hit the Control key and tap the 0, it automatically goes back to a, if you look down here in the bottom, fit screen. Remember, that's a Control key and a 0. Okay, so if you want to access a tool, just click the key on the keyboard. If you want to access a function, you'll hold the Control key down on a PC, Command key down on a Mac. Here's another example. If you look over here in the Layers palette, pardon me, let's say I want to duplicate this layer because I don't want to do anything to my original background layer. I'll hold the Control key down and tap, or the Command key and tap the J, and you see that we have an exact copy of the background layer, but it's labeled Layer 1. You can keep it that way, or if you double click on it, you see you can highlight the name and you can change the name to whatever you want. So you can make all kinds of changes to Layer 1 and it will not affect your original background layer. Okay, now let's say, for example, one of the things, let me digress here a little bit. If you look over here for the in the color palette, you have the foreground color and the background color. Well, let's say we want to change these colors, and I'm just going to change them to some arbitrary colors. All right, so now we don't have the black and white for our foreground background color. Let's say, for example, we want to go back to that. What is the easiest way to do it? The easiest way to do it is just on your keyboard, tap the D key, and that'll immediately change back to your white background, your black text for your foreground color. If you want to reverse those and make the white the foreground color and the black the background color, just tap the X key, and that swaps them back and forth. Every time you hit the X key, it swaps them back and forth. Now, this is very useful when you start working with layer masks, and we'll get into the layer masks in some next lessons that we're going to have. But as far as the keyboard shortcuts and the function shortcuts, take a look at the book, and as you do work on your photos, make note of the ones that you use the most frequently, and as soon as you can remember those, it'll really speed up your workflow. And that's all we have for this one, and we'll talk to you again soon.